Welcome! It's your friendly neighborhood Pentax man. If you are new to the channel, my name is Kobe Mercury Clark. I have been a Pentax exclusive photographer for quite a number of years and a photographer for even longer than that. I have done events, I've done automotive, commercial, editorial, I've sold fine art prints, I've done action, birding, motorsports. I have not actually done real estate though, so maybe I'll tackle that one day. But anyway, I created this channel to give back to the community in regards to Pentax users because I noticed that there's not a whole lot of information, and Pentax is not very forthcoming in regards to the information they provide via user manuals and things like that. So I actually do deep dive into the entire system, and the reason that these videos are centered around the Pentax system is because that is what I actually purchase with my own hard-earned money, and it is what I use on a daily basis. So I can go through and really deep dive and get into the nitty-gritty of how all the different pieces fit together and all the different functions and how to get the most out of your gear. So that is what I do on my channel. So if you're new, welcome. Thanks for checking it out. And if you're not new, then everything I just said you already know. So let's just begin. Sounds good. So this time we are going to be looking at specifics of the smart function on the PENTAX K-3 Mark III. I've been doing a lot of thinking about it, and I've read online that there is confusion in regards to how to best go about setting it up. And I think part of the issue, which has happened to me as well, is you can add so much to the smart function that it actually becomes overwhelming when you go to utilize it. So I've really sat there and I've thought about it. I've dreamt about it. I've in my alphabets, I've seen the letters popping up, with words to help guide me through the whole thing. Okay, well, maybe not to that point, but you get what I'm saying. I've really done a lot of thinking, and I came to the conclusion that the best way to go about setting up the smart function is to consciously really think about the shooting situation that you're going to be in for a custom user mode. I think that is the best pairing to utilize the smart function, is set up a custom user mode for a specific shooting situation, for example, portraits. So you're going to be shooting a portrait. Now, when you're setting up the smart function, do you really need 1.3 time and 1.7 time crop mode if you're shooting portraits? Most likely no. So just disable it. Don't even have it show up as a smart function option for that user mode of portraits. Will you be using exposure compensation? Probably. If you're going to be using flash or any kind of lighting, on camera, then maybe you'll want flash exposure compensation to be enabled, which you can do. So you really have to sit there and think. And in regards to the autofocus, you'll most likely be using AFS. Now you can add on top of that, so you can use spot focus, or you can use zone focus, and you can toggle between those, but it'll stay in AFS. So there are these different parameters, in order to utilize the smart function accordingly, but tie it into specific user mode for a specific genre of photography. So whether it's portraits or architecture, so for example, real estate, right? You'll probably want to use HDR. You'll probably want to use bracketing, so enable those specific functions so you're not sitting there twisting the dial over and over trying to figure out, okay, where did I put this and where's this, and oh, I have the E dial, but then I have ISO, and then I also have exposure compensation. Try to pare it down to the very specifics of what you're going to shoot. So I'm just going to show you, how I set up, how I redid my portrait setting in regards to the smart function, and I'll show you the portrait tracking to show you the differences in regards to how I've set up the smart function and tied it into the actual user mode. And hopefully this helps eliminate some of the confusion and I guess stress about setting up the smart function. You do need to take some time to really think about what you're doing and just go through it systematically in order to set it up for specific shooting situations. So here's how I've set it up. Okay, so here is the back of the PENTAX K-3 Mark III, and I have this set in my portrait tracking mode. So this is in my custom user mode. Now let's start the smart function here. And as you can see, I have it defaulting to the continuous drive modes. So I have low, medium, and high. That way, depending on how fast the subject will be moving, you can quickly toggle through medium speed, high speed, and low speed shooting. From here, I also have exposure compensation enabled, so you can easily change the exposure compensation as needed. And just in case you do actually shoot in JPEG, you can have it set this way, as I have it, for custom image. Or if there's a specific look that the custom image can do that you're trying to replicate in post, this is a good way to actually go about doing it. And here, I just have my autofocus settings. So AFC, let's just go in here. So AFC in zone, and then the next one is AFC full auto, and this is with subject recognition on, so it'll recognize the eyes. And then I have AFC in expanded medium with autofocus hold on low. Each of these has autofocus hold on low, only because depending if you're out in public and there may be people walking by, you want the camera to ignore slight interruptions in between the lens and the subject itself. Right, so those are the settings that I have for portrait tracking. And now if we go to portrait, you'll notice here it went from AFC to AFS with no autofocus hold, right? And this primarily I thought would have off-camera lighting, right? So I've got my exposure compensation. The rest I would control on camera. I could change this to flash exposure compensation, and then single frame shooting. And the autofocus mode is basically continuous and single. You never know when you're out on when you're out there. You just don't know if you may have to switch it back and forth. I'm probably going to tweak this a bit more, just because I do have the portrait tracking one. So for this, actually, what I'll do, I'm not going to need autofocus. Yeah, I'm not going to need continuous autofocus, right? So let's just change that. So let's just go down here quick, go down to the smart function and function 1. No, let's see what I had here. Okay, nope, that's disabled. Function 2 is the autofocus. Okay, so function 2, I'm going to change to flash exposure compensation. There. Let's back out. Go back up to the top of the menu, save user mode settings, portrait, and then just press the shutter. And that's it. So now I have my user autofocus, which is AFS, flash exposure compensation, and then single frame shooting. For the drive mode, single frame, continuous low, medium, high, and my exposure compensation and custom image. So there you have it. I think personally that is the best way to actually go about gaining the most out of the smart function that's built into the PENTAX K-3 Mark III. You can set up some general parameters on it just for general camera settings for anything that's not tied to a user mode. But if you are going to be using any of the from box 1 to 5 on the actual mode dial, or you're going to use, I don't know, maybe all 10, right? Then each one of those custom user modes you set, you should actually go through the smart function systematically to add only the specific parameters that would pertain to each one of those user modes that you're actually going to be shooting in. And that's pretty much my thoughts on how to extract the most out of the smart function itself. So there you have it. Just wanted to get into my latest thoughts and my ever evolving process in regards to the K-3 Mark III. It is a ton of camera, a ton. yeah, I mean, if you don't have one, you don't understand. But if you do have one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is a lot of camera. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. Always helps out, and that goes for any channels that you're watching. If you watched more than one video from that channel and you've gotten something out of it and you like the content, then you might as well just subscribe. It really does help. You know, as I said, the algorithm is king, and this is the only way for us to go anywhere with our channels, so to speak. You know, as humans, we like to grow. As a channel, I'd like to grow. The only way to grow is the algorithm, yo. So yeah, hit the like button, you know, hit the bell notification icon, bing, thing, so every time I upload, you'll get a notification that I've uploaded a new video and you won't miss any content. If you have any questions or comments about this, leave them down below. And if you want to support the channel, that information is at the bottom of the description as well. And that's it. I'm going to go. You'll see me on my next video. I'm out.